All right, Belly. For Kiran Bedi, former LG of Puducherry, is now joining us live for more on this story. Ma'am, thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast. The Bengaluru Stampede, which has occurred, we have seen top officials of the Karnataka State Cricket Association resign from their posts after the incident. How are you viewing this situation currently emerging out of Bengaluru?
You see, what I'm observing is, I've just read the newspaper report of Times of India, which is Sunday Times, and the front line is Govt had warned against facing RCB at the legislature. Govt had warned. The word is warned, right? And it also tells you that a senior police officer, M.N. Gowda, had red flagged the risk just before the event. His written warning to top bureaucrats on June 4th, the day of the tragedy, also cautioned against the felicitations at the Vidhansabha. Now, here it is. Then there's another continued of the story, which I think needs to be brought to the notice of the people, and that is, why do these things are occurring again and again? Is this? It also said that there's a letter in possession of the Times of India of Gowda, also pointed to the venue's sensitive status and lack of adequate CCTV coverage. And then asked before the search, Department of Personnel and Administrative Reform Secretary and Senior IS Officer Satyavanshi overseeing arrangements at Vidhansabha steps, publicly urging fans to head to the stadium instead. Now, there's another. Then there's another who says that the Chief Secretary, Shalini Rajni, but permission was still granted. DCP's note was also shared with the then Bengaluru Police Commissioner, B. Dayanand, who in turn flagged it to the Chief Secretary, Shalini Rajni. That means all of them are in the loop. But permissions were still granted. I hope the news which is published in Times of India is correct. Then it also said that S.D. Kamar was there. That alleged that the celebrations were pre-planned even before, but that I can't confirm. The FI says permission for the on June 3rd at 6 p.m., 90 minutes before the final event. Now the short solicitation needed, was it needed? Who put pressure on the police commissioner at that day for permission? So many I feel that these are very important terms of reference. What this inquiry should actually tell us, why was the police handicapped? Why was the police overruled? Why was the police intelligence and guidance and assessment not respected? I think that is the problem. The problem today is with the increasing population and festivities, and you will have more and more stampedes if the police is not in the picture and taking decisions and also taking responsibility. Let the police make an assessment and take responsibility. And then if they fail, you will suspend them. But you can't be interfering with them, guiding them, or unprofessional guidance, and the police also not putting it through down. In this case, one is, I think the intervention by non-police professionals could be political, could be bureaucrats, could be other external. Secondly is, why has the police not put its foot down? What kind of written directions was it giving recording in the minutes of the meeting to be given to the commissions of inquiry? You see, the commissions of inquiry will take its own time to come. Meanwhile, many more festivities will come. What will happen to them? What kind of stampedes will be prevented? Who will take accountability? Who will plan? How will you manage the manpower? And number two, you continue to demoralize the police and suspend them instead of respecting their guidance. Why should such an arrangement not be called by case? Here the police person. What have you to say? What is your assessment? Are we prepared? What is the manpower you need? What is the equipment you need? What are the other agencies you need? Are they being heard? The question is, and number two, are the minutes of such minuted? It can be by the Chief Minister, Home Minister, Home Secretary, Chief Secretary, DGP, That is the challenge, that we are not learning lessons. We, if to make police accountable, you have to keep them responsible and listen, put the ball in their court. Ask them to give in writing their assessment, what they want and what is it that they need, so that you can fix their responsibility. You can't now say, ye karo or ye, then you suspend the police commissioner or other officers. This is my feeling, that as a police officers will also have to become bolder, more courageous, more clear. They must also listen to their juniors. So juniors must be heard, so, and then a collective decision for civil administration should be taken. At the moment, I think you are sidelining the police leadership, rank and file, and then taking spur of the moment decisions and falling a prey to all these institutes. I think this is not correct. And with increasing population and increasing festivities, I think more and more such stampedes will happen. Now, next point is people. People must also become more responsible, and then they go into these crowded places as to whether, how can they see things online, and also if the stadium is getting crowded, they must not overcrowd. I think there's great chance of the people. People also have a responsibility not to overcrowd. Have you heard me?
Yes, ma'am. As you said, there is an accountability war that has been emerging out of this situation. Multiple KSCA officials have resigned. The BJP, of course, is holding a protest and taking the state government to task. You also called out the police for their actions. So, who would you say is accountable for this, or is there a joint accountability that needs to be taken for this incident?
I'm only reading papers and newspapers listening. All I can say is that I think everybody has a share of blame. Everybody, starting with the political leadership, the secretariat leadership, and the police leadership, and also the organizers. All four have a share of responsibility in making these lives go. All four. Therefore, the terms of reference of the Commission of Inquiry should be what was the role played by political leadership, secretariat, leadership, police headquarters, then the organizers. All four are equally responsible. In fact, if people, the people will come moment to start publicizing, and who knows whether they're right or wrong unless they come to the stadium. So I think this is what terms of reference. Now, the important thing is, what are the terms of reference of this single judge judicial inquiry? Terms of reference must be very clear and based on documentation. And what is the minutes of the meeting? What is the documentation? What is the application given by the authorities, the celebratory organizer, the Karnataka Cricket Association RCC? See, I think these permissions, all this documentation will reveal the fault and deficiency at every level. You will see every level. So therefore, why point out only the police? Why hurt and demoralize the police? Because every one of these four which I've mentioned have had a role in the failure of this arrangement. Therefore, why calling? And the police is the only agency which is now subsequently going to look after law and order and the festivities which will be coming in. So I think we are into knee-jerk reactions. We should not. We need to look at holistic answers. And you also remember, friends, that there is an institutional memory of all these riots, etc., all these stampedes. There is an institutional memory. Have we ever gone back to the lessons learned from the past stampedes? I know, I'm not sure. That's the first rule of the law, is when you position yourself for these, that you also recall. And these are also in the memory of serving experienced police officers. That is why their input, their assessment is vital and to be respected both by the Central Secretariat and by the political classes. And not what serves the political classes at that moment.
Well, ma'am, so would you say that this is a failure of planning, and how can such an incident be avoided in the future?
Into the answer, that listen to the police. To make police accountable, listen to the police. Ask them to give the assessment in writing. Ask them what they need, what cooperation they need, what input they need, what support they need from whom. They must be put in, the police headquarters, the DGP, must put it in writing and write to the Home Minister and to the Chief Secretary, what is it that he or she needs. And thereafter, since it's a very big event, it's the duty of the Chief Secretary, because other departments are involved, which is the municipality involved, healthcare involved, sanitary involved, and therefore that's the role of the Chief Secretary of the state to call for a combined meeting, listen to the police, share their assessments with all the agencies, put the agencies in cooperation and collaboration, and put the order and let the political leadership know the arrangement. That's it, and not tinker with the arrangements after that. This is the role of the Chief Secretary, to play the coordinating role, because such big festivities require so many multi-agencies. So it's an administrative failure, it's a leadership or political failure, it's also not asserting by the police also, I feel it's deficient. Because police should have asserted and said, we need the following. Now, they can only get away if they have given all these things in writing. If they say, humne verbally kaha, wo verbally kaha, it may not work. We need bold leadership, police bold leadership and bold planning. But they need to be heard and their assessment respected and adhered to and provided. That's what I'm trying to say.
We have seen earlier multiple cases of stampedes like this in the past. So what is the one big lesson that we can take away? What lesson can we learn from this tragic incident?
Stampedes happen only lack of coordination. Coordination between the civil administration and the police. And obviously when there's no coordination, there's obviously lack of planning. And when the planning suffers, something or the other slips. Sometimes the ambulance is not there, fire brigade is not there, disaster management is not there, traffic planning is not there. All this requires coordination. So one common thing is, this needs coordination. All law and order, such festivals, coordination is extremely critical, and also the guidance can be given by the political leadership, but not negative interference. You cannot interfere with a settled arrangement which is professionally managed. So you can guide, but not interfere and not alter last minute.
Well, ma'am, of the many things that went wrong on June 4th during the victory celebration, one was the glaring gap in social media communication, where throughout the day various updates were shared by the RCB social media page that was in conflict with the communication being shared by the Bengaluru City Police and the Bengaluru Traffic Police. So what is your take on this, and how can such a gap in communication be avoided in the future?
All our past experience of such major law and order arrangements, the applicant, the private applicant, the for-profit applicant, is always a part of the arrangement. It's an integral part of the arrangement to be made equally responsible, to put in civil defense, hire civil security, and be there for ushers, and also doing housekeeping announcements. All this is a part and parcel of the planning. Therefore, the private agencies ought to be part and parcel of that coordinating committee, which works together to put the arrangements in place.
Ma'am, I would also like to ask you, what do you make of the suspension of the Bengaluru Police Commissioner B. Dayanand over the Chinnaswamy Stadium stampede?
I said uncalled for, and even further announcement, because you've not fixed responsibility. What if they had forewarned you already and you overruled them? So would you still suspend them? Question is, that the documentation will show whether they are forewarned, whether they were supported, whether they were helped, whether they were guiding people but nobody was listening to them, whether they were private organizers or others, or the politicians. So how could you suspend them? Therefore, let the inquiry be complete before you decide to fix accountability, whether it's of the police or of the civil, Karnataka body, or the civil secretariat or the politicians. I think the inquiry should quickly reveal, but suspending of the police officers is very, very highly premature. Because when he wanted an inquiry, ought to have waited. And particularly when there's an information, even now, that there was an information given by the local police that this is not an appropriate and they're not ready.
Well, thank you so much for taking out the time to join us on NewsX, ma'am. The political slugfest continues over the Bengaluru Stampede as the accountability war continues. The BJP is going to hold a protest outside the Vidhansabha today at 11 a.m.